Ever wonder what your pilot is really doing up there while you're scrolling through Netflix at 30,000 feet? Spoiler alert, it's way more intense than you think, and some of these secrets might actually blow your mind. I'm about to pull back the curtain on the aviation world and reveal what commercial pilots are secretly doing during your flight that you never see or even think about. From bizarre eating rituals to split-second decisions that could save your life, these behind-the-scenes pilot activities will change how you view flying forever. Let's start with something called the sterile cockpit rule, and trust me, this isn't about cleanliness. Below 10,000 feet, pilots enter what's essentially a communication lockdown. No jokes, no casual chatter, no discussing weekend plans. Every word spoken must be directly related to flying the aircraft. Why? Because the majority of aviation accidents happen during takeoff and landing phases. One misplaced conversation about dinner plans could mean missing a critical air traffic control instruction. So while you're taking selfies during takeoff, your pilots have switched into laser-focused mission mode. Speaking of air traffic control, here's something fascinating. Pilots are constantly juggling two completely different types of communication simultaneously. They're talking to ATC using precise, clipped phraseology that sounds almost robotic, while also coordinating with their flight crew using normal conversational language. It's like being fluent in two languages and switching between them every few seconds. The captain might say, "Center, United 245 requesting flight level 360 to air traffic control," then immediately turn to the first officer and say, "Hey, did you notice that weather building up ahead?" This mental switching happens hundreds of times per flight. Now let's destroy a massive myth about autopilot. You probably think pilots just hit a button and take a nap, right? Wrong. Autopilot is more like a very sophisticated cruise control that still requires constant supervision. Pilots are continuously monitoring weather radar, adjusting flight paths, communicating with controllers, and making micro adjustments. The autopilot can't make decisions about turbulence avoidance, weather deviations, or emergency situations. It's a tool, not a replacement for human judgment. Here's something you've never considered. Your pilots are doing complex math problems throughout the entire flight. They're constantly calculating payload distribution and aircraft balance. If passengers move around the cabin, if cargo shifts, or if fuel burns unevenly, it affects the aircraft's center of gravity. Pilots monitor these changes and make adjustments to maintain optimal flight characteristics. That smooth ride you're enjoying, it's partially because your pilot is solving physics equations in real time. Let's talk about pilot nutrition because this gets weird. Pilots often eat different meals than passengers, and not just because airline food is terrible. On many flights, the captain and first officer are required to eat different entrees to minimize the risk of food poisoning affecting both pilots simultaneously. They also follow strict hydration protocols, drinking water at calculated intervals to prevent dehydration without creating bathroom emergencies during critical flight phases. Some pilots avoid caffeine entirely during long flights to prevent energy crashes. One of the biggest misconceptions involves pilot rest periods. Movies show pilots napping in their seats, but reality is much more regulated. On ultra-long flights, there are controlled rest policies where pilots can take strategic breaks in specially designated crew rest areas. However, this involves complex scheduling, backup crew members, and strict protocols about who's monitoring what systems. It's not a casual power nap. It's a carefully choreographed operation designed to maintain safety while managing human fatigue. While you're complaining about turbulence, your pilots are operating like meteorological detectives. They're constantly scanning weather radar, communicating with other aircraft about conditions ahead, and making route adjustments you never notice. That smooth path around a storm system? Your pilot probably started planning that deviation 20 minutes before you felt the first bump. They're reading atmospheric data like a complex three-dimensional puzzle. Ever notice how cabin lights dim during different phases of flight? This isn't random mood lighting. Pilots coordinate with cabin crew to adjust lighting and temperature for specific operational reasons. Dimmed lights during takeoff and landing help passengers' eyes adjust to potential emergency conditions. Temperature adjustments can affect fuel efficiency and passenger comfort, but they're also part of broader aircraft systems management that passengers never consider. Here's something that sounds like a spy movie but happens on every flight. The flight deck door security protocol. When pilots need meals or bathroom breaks, there's an elaborate choreographed procedure involving cabin crew, specific knock sequences, and visual confirmation systems. The cockpit door doesn't just randomly open. Every interaction is planned, timed, and executed according to strict security protocols developed after extensive safety analysis. Finally, let's talk about landing preparation, which begins way earlier than you think. Pilots start configuring aircraft systems for landing sometimes an hour before touchdown. They're running through extensive checklists, calculating approach speeds based on current weight and weather conditions, programming navigation systems, and coordinating with air traffic control for optimal routing. Those final moments before landing involve dozens of verbal call-outs between pilots, confirming everything from altitude to airspeed to system status. The next time you fly, remember that while you're relaxing with a drink and a movie, your pilots are orchestrating an incredibly complex operation involving mathematics, meteorology, communication protocols, and split-second decision-making. Flying might seem routine to passengers, but for pilots, every flight is a masterclass in multitasking, problem-solving, and professional precision that keeps aviation the safest form of travel in human history.